according to the Wall Street Journal, the United States are not going to provide Ukraine with depleted uranium tank shells. So just to explain what these are tank shells that look the same, but when they're fired, they have better armor piercing capabilities. So basically, they can blow up other tanks or other armored vehicles like an APC more easily, right? So the thing is, though, that if you look at what the United States have done, everywhere they've used depleted uranium, it's like dropping a nuclear bomb, and actually worse in other ways, because with a nuclear bomb, it's a giant dose of radiation. I mean, in one short period. But with depleted uranium, it stays there for much longer. Okay, and it lingers on for decades, literally. So, just to give you an example, in Fallujah in Iraq, the Americans, there are actually 3 battles of Fallujah, right? I think the one in 2004 was the worst. So the Americans, they dropped white phosphorus from above, and also they used depleted uranium tank shells. And guess what? 10, 20 years later, there are people in Fallujah who are being born with cancer, and it's so bad that you have higher rates of birth defects and congenital heart disease in Fallujah than you do in Nagasaki and Hiroshima. After, Nagasaki and Hiroshima were bombed with nuclear weapons. So can you imagine that it's even worse? I want to read you this. This is from a doctor in Fallujah, and she spoke with Al Jazeera. And keep in mind, this is in 2013, I believe, right? So she said that her name's Dr. Samira. Hold on, you can't see the document. Give me a second to pull it up. So there it is. Her name is Dr. Samira Alani, okay, and she's from Fallujah, and she said that this journalist who spoke with her said that it's according to her, it's common in Fallujah for newborns to come out with massive multiple systemic defects, immune problems, massive central nervous system problems, massive heart problems, skeletal disorders, babies being born with 2 heads, babies being born with half of their internal organs outside of their bodies, cyclops babies literally with 1 eye, really, really, really horrific, nightmarish types of birth defects. And this is true because I have looked at the photographs, and these are not old photographs; they're from now. Right, this is happening now. It's been going on for many, many, many years, because people who are in Nagasaki and Hiroshima, you knew that there was a nuclear explosion and you had to get the hell away from there if you could. The thing is, the people in Iraq didn't know what the Americans had put in the tank shells, and because there wasn't even a need to use them. I mean, because first of all, there shouldn't be, the Americans had no business being there in the first place at all. And on top of it, there were no other tanks. They were not fighting other tanks to even justify, from a military point of view, the use of depleted uranium, right? At least, and I'm still against it, but just from a military point of view, right now in Ukraine, they're actually fighting with tanks on both sides. This was not even the case in Fallujah, and they still use them, right? So that just goes to show how lax and careless they were. So, they dropped so much white phosphorus, they used so much depleted uranium. The people living there have no clue about this. The war is bad enough without knowing that, if you live there and you stay there, you're going to get cancer, and your kids are going to be born with these massive nightmarish birth defects. So people had no clue. They're finding out years later, right? Keep in mind, in Yugoslavia, another place that NATO, the United States, not really, it's not a big difference, but guess what? They also use depleted uranium. Here, this is from El Mayadeen. So, I over the period of the aggression, the alliance dropped an estimated 15 tons of depleted uranium in bombs and shells, after which the country's oncology diseases spiked, ranking it the first in terms of cancer cases in Europe. Okay, So they're talking about Serbia, right? And they said that in the first 10 years following the heavy shelling, about 30,000 developed cancer, and estimations say that between 10 to 18,000 of them died. Okay, so when they say oncology, oncology is the study of cancer. Okay, so it means cancer. So that's what happened in Yugoslavia. Once again, thank you to Lockheed Martin and all these people. But at least they joined in the Pride Parade, right? At least they joined the Pride Parade. There's so much love in all of this depleted uranium usage. I can't handle it. This is what is so disgusting, is that they make you think that these companies actually care, or that these politicians care about people. How the hell do you supposedly bring democracy to Iraq when you're giving people cancer, right? Or in the case of Yugoslavia, right? They carved it up and bombed Serbia, destroyed it, just like Iraq, and they used the same things. And now they want to bring this literally cancerous thing, depleted uranium, and use it in Ukraine. If you love Ukraine, if you care about Ukraine, depleted uranium is the last thing in the world that you would tell them to use, because guess who's going to suffer from that? The people in Ukraine, right? Like if their idea is to liberate Ukraine, right? Okay, let's say that they do. Tomorrow morning, Zelensky's going to emerge victorious over the Donbass and Crimea, and he's going to go have a nice parade, right? Guess what? All the people returning to their homes, or all the people living there, I don't care where they're from, but in this case, their idea is, okay, it's going to be only Ukraine. You're going to give those people in Ukraine cancer because you use depleted uranium, because this stuff goes in the earth. It seeps into the earth, into the soil, into the water. You can't get rid of it. And Ukraine, man, I think Chernobyl was enough. Why do you why do you allow the Americans to give you this junk? Keep in mind, the United States, this is only now in June. If you ask me, and I'm assuming you are, they've been giving them depleted uranium since the beginning, right? They've been giving them the stuff. They've been stocking depleted uranium, not solely, but definitely of it and from it for a long time. We are just hearing of it now. The United Kingdom, right? We have been giving Ukraine depleted uranium for months now, and again, this is just in the public sphere. If you talk about reality, I think it's much longer than that. Here, let me show you what Putin said 2 months ago, right, when the UK began, at least publicly, giving depleted uranium.
Полагаем, что многие из положений, выдвинутого Китаем мирного плана, созвучны российским подходам и могут быть взяты за основу для мирного урегулирования, когда к нему будут готовы на Западе и в Киеве. Однако такой подход, пока такой готовности с их стороны мы не наблюдаем. В то время, когда мы с председателем обсуждали вопрос возможности реализации китайского плана мирного урегулирования, а председатель КНР уделил большое внимание своим мирным инициативам в ходе нашей вчерашней беседы с глазу на глаз, вот сегодня стало известно, что Великобритания устами заместителя главы Министерства обороны этой страны объявила не только о поставках танков на Украину, но и снарядов с объединенным ураном. Похоже, что Запад действительно решил воевать с Россией до последнего украинца уже не на словах, а на деле. Но хотел бы в этой связи отметить, что если все это будет происходить, то соответствующим образом Россия вынуждена будет реагировать, имея в виду, что коллективный Запад начинает применять уже оружие с ядерным компонентом.
Do you know what the British response to this was? The Ministry of Defense, the MOD, the next day said it's not true that uraniums are weapons of mass that tank shells with depleted uranium are weapons of mass destruction. That's not really the point. The point is, first of all, they are, but the point is that if you use them, you are going to kill not only the wildlife and the environment, but the people of Ukraine who come back to live there or live there already. You know, the point is that this is an ecological and oncological disaster in the making, right? And they know what man, look. People have been studying the effects of depleted uranium shells for decades before I was even born. And if you and I know this and it's in the public domain, you think they don't know this? Of course they know this. They just don't give a crap. They don't care. They want to make money. It's like a store. They want to get rid of their stock, right? And send it to Ukraine so they can just buy more for their, from their friends. All right. You got, the so-called defense ministers, or in the US, the defense secretary. These guys literally come from these companies. The American defense secretary, Lloyd Austin, the day he took the job as defense secretary, he resigned as a board member at Raytheon. He literally comes from the weapons company to be promoted as defense secretary. What defense? This guy has no concept of defense. He has no interest in defense. The last thing on his mind is defense. This guy wants to make money for his friends and for himself. Money. You understand? It's about money, man. It's about oil. It's about bombs. That's who these people are. And then they get their so-called journalist friends, who are just basically the PR department of the weapons manufacturer, to tell you, it's about freedom and democracy. Oh my God, Yugoslavia, in Serbia, in Iraq, they're such dictators that we have to use depleted uranium tank shells and bombs. We just got to give them cancer. We care so much about the civilians there that we want to make sure that their children have massive birth defects. And now they're doing the same thing with Ukraine. They care so much about Ukraine that they want people in Ukraine to have cancer from the depleted uranium. Well done. Well done. You have destroyed and defied logic itself. Well done. Why don't you just drop a nuke? But again, as I said earlier, this is worse than a nuke because it lasts for decades, right? It's actually worse than a nuke. Truly. Because people don't even know that it's there. They have no clue that they're living next to things that are going to give them cancer and destroy their DNA and give their children massive birth defects. They don't even know that it's there. It's like a silent killer, and it lasts for so much longer. Okay, and if you needed any more assurances and convincing. Our dear Claudia is a biologist and a scientist herself, and she agrees with everything that I just said, and we talked about this before, and how heartbreaking it is. I thought that for anyone seeing what these depleted uranium shells did in Iraq and Yugoslavia would be enough to knock some sense into them, but apparently not. Apparently they just refuse to learn. They refuse to do anything decent for people in Ukraine. I mean, this is, like I said, right now, this war is taking place in Ukraine. It's not really, inside of Russia or, sometimes the drone strikes, but mainly in Ukraine. So the things the weapons you use will stay there for many decades. Why would you do this? Another thing is that even if you don't care about Ukraine and you don't care about Russia, let's say you are so selfish, you really, really only just care about your own country, and that's it. Well, guess what? The soldiers that are transporting this stuff, they might not be at such a risk, but the ones, if you're in a tank crew and you are driving around, you live with these things next to you, you are going to have higher rates of cancer. That's been proven. Right? That soldiers in tank crews especially, but again, these things can be dropped in the air, who live and and linger around these armaments and ordnances and payloads, they have higher rates of cancer. Here are some other examples. Forget depleted uranium. Let's talk about Agent Orange. Right? In Vietnam, the Americans dropped so much of this stuff. It's basically napalm. It's a corrosive, disgusting, flammable mix that if It's not like if you catch fire and you can put it out quickly. No. This stuff, it sticks to your skin and it burns and burns and burns. That's how, disgusting this is. And it does the same to everything, really, to every surface. That's what napalm is. And you have to think how beautiful Vietnam is, all the green. They destroyed it, right? Same thing, Cambodia. They set everything on fire. And they have such little respect for human life that their own soldiers, the American soldiers, developed diseases and cancer from Agent Orange, right? Agent Orange syndrome. So, they don't even respect their own soldiers, right? They don't even respect their own soldiers. Veterans Affairs is as many people know, and they don't have a great reputation of actually taking care of veterans. They'll take better care of Lockheed Martin than they will of you. But here, look this on the U.S. government's own website, okay, on the VA's website. Here's a list of diseases associated. Here's a list of diseases associated with Agent Orange, and they go through bladder cancer, leukemia, diabetes. It's a long list. It's a nasty list. Prostate cancer, respiratory cancer. Vietnam didn't drop these bombs on the U.S. The arms dealers gave these weapons to the Americans, and they dropped so much of it that they even it even hurt their own soldiers. And the same thing is in the Gulf War. You had that's another story. But Gulf War syndrome. You got tons of people living with various illnesses from that. And then now depleted uranium. Yeah. They don't care about you, man. They don't care about you. This is bad for the environment, obviously. That doesn't even need stating. And it's bad for human beings, and it's bad for wildlife, for everyone. But it's good it's good if you manufacture it. It's very good, right? Very, very good if you make money from war. It's so disgusting watching the British media try to paint Putin as like, oh, he's some kind of liar because he criticized us for giving Ukraine depleted uranium. Who the hell cares if his name is Putin or Mario? Why don't you talk about the goddamn depleted uranium? Can we not find one journalist at the BBC? Why are they so void of any logic or journalistic ethics? It's nothing. A barren wasteland of morons.